My name is Harold. I'm 78 years old, and I'm sitting here in my kitchen on a quiet Tuesday morning in January 2026, watching the steam rise off this cup of coffee. Same brand I've been drinking since I was 30, and I just can't stop thinking about Frank. Frank was my best friend, not the kind you lose touch with after college or work, not the kind you only see at weddings or funerals. No, Frank, he was the other half of my life for over 50 years, and he's gone now, died last spring, just like that. One day he was there, calling me every Sunday like clockwork, and the next, silence. But, before I get ahead of myself, let me tell you how we met. It was 1970. I was 22, fresh out of trade school, nervous as hell, showing up to my first real job at a furniture factory. Big place, smelled like sawdust and varnish, machines roaring all day long. And Frank, he started the same week. We were both assigned to the sanding line. Back-breaking work. Dust in your lungs, splinters in your fingers, ears ringing by lunchtime. We didn't talk much that first day, just nodded when we passed tools. But at the end of the shift, he leaned against the loading dock, lit a cigarette, something I never did, and said, "You any good at pool?" I said, "Not really." He grinned and said, "Good. You'll owe me a beer when I beat you." And that was it. That was the beginning. We played pool that night, lost $2, drank 3 beers, talked about nothing important, cars, girls, whether we'd ever get out of this town. But somehow it felt like everything. Like we'd known each other forever. And in a way, we had, just hadn't met yet. By 74, I got married. My wife, Eleanor, God, I still say her name like it's a prayer. She was the steady hand in my life, patient, kind, saw something in me I didn't even see. Frank was my best man. Wore a suit 2 sizes too big, spilled punch on his tie, but stood tall when it mattered. Gave a speech so sincere it made half the room cry. 3 years later, in 77, Frank got married to Miriam. Quiet woman, loved gardening, classical music, and hated small talk, which suited Frank just fine. I was his best man. We joked that we'd swapped roles, but really, we were just 2 guys holding each other up through the biggest steps of our lives. For years we lived parallel lives. Same neighborhood, same grocery store, same Little League games when our kids were young. My son Daniel, his daughter Rachel. They used to ride bikes together, build forts out of scrap wood from the factory. Funny thing, we both left that furniture place in '81. Not because we wanted to, but because the whole operation shut down. Machines sold off, building torn down a year later. Felt like losing a part of ourselves. But we found new work. Me in warehouse logistics, him in home repair, odd jobs mostly. Said he liked fixing things people thought were broken beyond saving. I always thought that was more about him than the furniture. Life went on, steady, predictable, the kind of quiet rhythm you don't notice until it's interrupted. In '89, my father passed. Heart gave out in his sleep. He was 76. Strong man till the end. I remember standing at the graveside, numb, staring at the casket like it might open and he'd walk out. Frank didn't say much, just showed up early, helped my mother carry chairs, stayed late to clean up. On the way home, he put a hand on my shoulder and said, "He was proud of you, Hal, every damn day." And that was enough. More than enough. Then came '92. Tough year for Frank. His daughter Rachel, bright kid, sharp as a tack, got mixed up with the wrong crowd in college. Ended up arrested for something stupid. Forged checks, I think. Not violent, just desperate. She dropped out, was living with some guy who talked her into it. Frank took it hard. Blamed himself. Said he should have seen it coming, should have pushed harder, listened better. I drove over one night, found him sitting on his porch in the dark, staring at the moon like it held answers. I sat down beside him. Didn't say a word for maybe 20 minutes. Finally I said, "You remember what your dad used to say?" He looked at me. "A tree bends in the storm, but the roots hold." He nodded. Didn't cry, but his eyes, they were full. Rachel did 6 months. Got out, went to counseling, finished her degree online. Now she's a social worker. Helps kids who've fallen through the cracks, just like she once did. Frank never stopped believing in her, even when she didn't believe in herself. That's the thing about real love. It doesn't quit when things get messy. It digs in. Time kept moving. Faster, it seemed, the older we got. Then, 2010, Eleanor got sick. Ovarian cancer. Fast. Brutal. 6 months from diagnosis to goodbye. I was 62. Felt like I'd been hollowed out. The house was too quiet, too empty. Frank, he didn't wait for me to call, he just came. Every other day for months. Brought soup, sat on the couch. Sometimes we watched old westerns. Sometimes we just sat in silence. He never said, "You'll get through this." Never offered cheap comfort. He just stayed. And that presence, steady, quiet, unwavering, that was the lifeline I didn't know I needed. 4 years later, in 2014, Miriam died. Stroke. Gone before the ambulance even arrived. Frank called me at 2 a.m., voice cracked like thin ice. "She's gone, Hal." I was at his door in 20 minutes. Found him in the kitchen, still in his slippers, holding her favorite mug like it might warm up again. We didn't talk, just sat at the table until sunrise. 2 old men, drowning in the same kind of grief, too tired to swim alone. After that, we leaned on each other harder. Met every Thursday morning at the same diner, corner booth, window seat. Ordered the same thing, black coffee, scrambled eggs, wheat toast. Talked about the weather, the grandkids, whether the world was going to hell faster this year than last. But beneath the small talk, we were checking in, making sure the other was still here, still breathing, still fighting. As the years passed, we started talking more about the past. Not with regret exactly, more like taking inventory. Remember that time we tried to build that bookshelf and it collapsed the second we put books on it? Or, remember how scared we were the first time our kids drove alone? We laughed, we sighed, we remembered. Because memory, I've learned, is how we keep people alive after they're gone. But then, last year, things changed. Frank started forgetting little things, where he parked, what day it was. Once he called me Eleanor by mistake. My heart dropped. His daughter took him to the doctor. Early stage dementia. He fought it like a man who knew what was coming. "I don't want to become a ghost in my own life," he told me once, voice low. "I want to be me till the end." I visited him every week. Sometimes he knew me. Sometimes he looked at me like I was a stranger who'd wandered into his living room. But I kept going, because that's what you do. You show up, even when it hurts, even when it's pointless, especially then. He had a fall in November, broke his hip, then pneumonia, then his body just gave out. I was there the last morning, held his hand, told him it was okay, that Miriam was waiting, that Rachel was strong, that he'd done good, really good. And he squeezed my hand, once, weakly, and closed his eyes. Just like that. 54 years of friendship ended in a hospital room with beeping machines and 2 bright lights. Now, I'm here, alone. Most days are quiet, too quiet. I still make 2 cups of coffee out of habit, catch myself setting 2 plates at dinner. The house echoes with absence. People say, "You should get out more, Harold. Join a group, make new friends." And I smile and nod. But they don't understand. At 78, you don't want new friends. You want the one who knew you when your hair was dark and your back didn't ache. The one who saw you at your worst and loved you anyway. The one who remembers the sound of your laugh before grief changed it. Frank was the last person who knew the whole story. The young man, the husband, the father, the widower, the friend. Now that story's locked inside me, and one day it'll vanish with me. Here's what I've learned though, and I mean this with every breath I've got left. Friendship isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up, day after day, year after year, in joy and in silence, in crisis and in boredom. You don't need to be brilliant or rich or famous. You just need to be there. And don't, please don't, take it for granted. Don't assume you'll have time later. Later doesn't come. I thought I'd have more Thursdays with Frank, more dumb jokes about bad coffee, more shared silences that said everything. But time runs out, always. If you've got someone like that in your life, a true friend, the kind who's walked through fire with you, call them today, not tomorrow, today. Say thank you. Say, I remember. Say, I'm glad it was you. Because one day, you'll be sitting in a quiet kitchen, staring at a cold cup of coffee, wishing you had. I miss him every single day, but I'm grateful. Grateful for 54 years of loyalty, laughter, and quiet strength. Grateful that I got to be his friend. And if telling this story helps even one person pick up the phone, then maybe Frank's still doing good work, even now. So go on, call them before it's too late, because it will be, sooner than you think. If my story resonated with you, please share it. Subscribe and leave a comment. I'll be happy to read them over a cup of coffee tomorrow.